Okay, I'm going to make a review video and I'm going to try to run through all of the problems from today. So this is the date, 4/1/15. Here we go. So first one, we just distribute. So we call it FOIL sometimes just to remember which order we do things in. So x squared, that's first, and then outer, that would be minus 11x. Then the inner terms, that's plus 2x, and then the last would be minus 22, and we can combine those two middle terms, so x squared minus 9x minus 22. Next one, same thing, first times first, x squared, outer, plus 12x, inner, plus 4x, 4 times 12, 48, and then we can combine those two middle terms, x squared plus 16x plus 48. And this one is just subtracting this polynomial. So I'm going to rewrite it with the signs reversed. So all the signs change, all the terms that are to the right of the negative sign. So that's plus 3y cubed, and then that'll be a minus 12y, and then that'll be plus 15. So now we'll look to combine some like terms. So these guys, so that will be 13y cubed, and then we'll look, we just have a minus 3y squared, and then we have the minus 5y and a minus 12y, so that'll make minus 17y, and then it looks like we have a minus 3 and a positive 15, which will be plus 12. And this one, we're going to FOIL it as well. So x squared, and then the outside is plus 4x, the inside is minus 4x, and the last term's negative 16. These are opposites, so they cancel out, so we're left with x squared minus 16. This one's commonly missed, but it doesn't have to be you. You can just rewrite x minus 11, x minus 11. That's what it means to be squared. You just write the same thing twice, and then we multiply it together. X squared, we do the outside, which is minus 11x. We do the inside, which is also minus 11x. And then a negative times a negative is a positive, so 121. Now the two middle terms do combine, they don't cancel out this time. So it's going to be x squared minus 22x, and then plus 121. Okay. Okay, this one we're going to do some distributing and then combining like terms. So the x gets multiplied by all three. That would be 2x to the third power, 2x cubed we say, minus x squared, and then plus 9x. Then we're going to do the next set of terms, so we're going to multiply the negative 5 by all these terms. So that would be negative 10 x squared, and then a negative times a negative would be a positive, so that would be plus 5x, and then minus 45. We can combine our like terms, so that would be 2x cubed, and that would leave us with minus 11x squared, and that would be plus 14x and minus 45. This is one where you can do a 2x3 box method as well. This one we're going to distribute, so that's a 6w squared minus 12w. We're going to distribute the 2 through all these terms, so that would be 20w squared minus 2w plus 6. Now we're looking to combine some like terms, so we're going to have 26w squared, negative 12w minus 2w is minus 14w, and then we have our plus 6. Factor completely. So first step in all factoring is to take out the GCF. So they have a 16 in common as well as an m, and then we just put parentheses and see what's left. So there should be a 3 left over times m, and then minus 1. This one, whenever you have 4 terms, it's a dead giveaway that it's factored by grouping. So the first 2 terms have a 5 in common as well as a y, so we take both of those out and we see what's left. So we figure out what goes in there. The last 2 terms have a 4 in common, so we take out the 4 and we see what's left. So that would leave us with the same exact thing in parentheses, so we take that out, y minus 3, and then we see what's left, so there would be a 5y left over plus the 4. This one we're going to solve. The first thing we want to do is factor. This is the easier kind of trinomials to factor. So we're looking at 2 numbers that multiply to be negative 35 and add up to be negative 2. So that's going to be negative 7 and positive 5. So we're going to be able to take both of those numbers and just go straight to the factors. So x minus 7 and x plus 5. And this is more than just factoring, it's solving because we have an equation. So we just set each of these factors equal to 0 and solve for x. X equals 7. X plus 5 equals 0, so x equals negative 5, so both of those are solutions to that equation. Okay, this one is just factoring, so we're going to look for 2 numbers that multiply to be 51 and add up to be negative 14. So multiply to be that, add up to be that. So a little bit of thought, and it's going to be 17 and 3. We've got to make sure that's a minus 17. That should be a minus 51. And so we can go right to the answer. So we're going to go x and x in the first 2 spots, minus 17 plus 3. This one is a difference of 2 squares. You can tell it's a difference, and these are perfect squares. So you just have to take the square root of each one. And when you take the square root of 16, you know it's 4. And you also need to put an x in those first 2 spots so that when you multiply it together, you get x squared. The square root of 121 is 11, so we put that in the other 2 spots, and then we just know that they're alternating signs. That's a pattern of difference of squares. Okay, this one is just a trinomial. It's actually a perfect square trinomial, but we can just treat it, just like a normal trinomial that has a number other than a 1 in front of it. So 9 times 4, so we multiply those together, that's 36. We're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to be 36 and add up to be 12. After a little bit of thought, we come up with negative 6 and negative 6. So with this method, we rewrite the middle term using those 2 terms. So 9x squared minus 6x plus 4. Now we're going to we turned it into a factor by grouping problem. It has 4 terms, so now we're going to take out what they have in common. So they have a 3x in common. That's going to leave us with 3x minus 2. Then we're going to look to see what these last 2 terms have in common. It's going to work out really well if we take out a negative 2, because that will give us the same thing in the parentheses here. So let's take out a negative 2, and then that will be 3x minus 2. Pause there for a moment and make sure, when you see that it's a negative 2 times a negative 2, that would actually give you the positive 4, so that actually works. And so now we have the same thing in the parentheses. 3x minus 2 would come out, and then we'd be left with 3x minus 2. It's called a perfect square trinomial because you end up with the same exact 2 factors, 3x minus 2 quantity squared. Okay, factor completely, same method. Just going to multiply the first number times the last number. We're looking for 2 numbers that multiply to be negative 40 and add up to be 6, so we got to think about that a little bit. 10, let's see, maybe 10 and 4, so that would have to be a positive 10 and a negative 4. So we're going to rewrite that middle term using those 2 numbers. So 5x squared plus 10x, and we're going to put the minus 4x in there, and the minus 8. See how the 10x minus 4x is the same as 6x, so we didn't change the problem at all. Now we're going to take out the GCF out of the first 2 terms, which is 5x. It's going to leave us with x plus 2. And then the last 2 terms, they have a negative 4 in common, and that's going to leave us with an x plus 2 as well. And so then we can take out the x plus 2 and then see what's left. So that would leave us with 5x minus 4 as a final answer, factored. Okay, factor completely. This one is a difference of squares, but it's hard to tell right off the bat. So first thing you always do is take out the GCF, so think about it for a little bit. Eventually you should come up with 2 as the only thing that goes into both of those terms evenly. So that would leave you with 9x squared minus 16. Now all of a sudden it's revealed that it becomes a difference of 2 perfect squares. So then you can go right to your double bubble factoring. And so the first one is a 3x and 3x in that spot, and then a 4 in the other spot. It's the square root of both of those. And make sure they're alternating signs, and make sure that you just carry the 2 along for the ride there as the final answer. Okay, this is the ball going up, or anything that goes straight up in the air and comes down is just affected by the acceleration of gravity. So we're going to solve those the same way, as long as they're asking how long it takes to hit the ground. So we're going to plug in just a 0 for the h. So that would be 0 equals negative 16 t squared plus 48 t. And then we would just look to see what we can take out of both of those. What's the GCF? So I would factor out a negative 16 t, and that would leave me with t minus 3. Notice if you multiply those back together, it would be the same thing. So then we take each of the factors and we set them equal to 0. So negative 16t equals 0, and t minus 3 equals 0. It's actually an or, but it can be both answers. So then we divide by negative 16, divided by negative 16. 0 divided by negative 16 is still just 0. So we know at a time of 0, the height's 0 because we haven't even hit the ball yet. And then for this one, we just add 3 to both sides. So t equals 3. So the answer is, how long will it take for the ball to hit the ground? It's going to be 3 seconds. And there's a little cleaner version typed. Alright, so this one is a pretty challenging application. So we have a pool that is 4 feet longer than its width. So you can see that this is the width, it's x. The length is 4 feet longer, so it's x plus 4. He wants to have a concrete walkway around the pool that's 3 feet wide. So picture this is 3, this is 3, this is 3, and this is 3. So notice that this is x plus 4, but then if I add 3 units on each side, then that would be x plus 4 plus 3 plus another 3. That's where we're getting the x plus 10 for this length from there to there with the concrete walkway. Then similarly, this is x, and so if we add 3 and add 3, that makes 6. So then it's going to be, this whole length is going to be x plus 6. So what we need to do is we need to figure out, we want to have concrete. So the concrete is going to be the black portion. So, and now I'm coloring it green. So this is all the concrete, all this, just to highlight it again. Okay. If I want to figure out, how to solve this, what I can do is I can say, okay, I know there's 240 feet of concrete. I can set up a little equation. So I need to figure out, and remember when we were doing this, we could figure out, we could take the area of the outside and we could subtract out the area of the inside, which this is the pool right here. So this is the pool. I know I should probably have it be blue. Let's see. Having trouble with my palette. There's blue, I think. So the pool should be blue. Okay. And what we would do is we would find the area of the outside. So what we would do is take this times this. So we're going to have to FOIL those, multiply them together. And then we're going to subtract this times this. And that's going to equal the area, or that's going to equal the part that I have colored green. So here's the setup. So we have the area of the large rectangle, which is x plus 6 times x plus 10. And then we're going to subtract out the area of the small rectangle, which is actually the pool. And then that's going to equal the area of the walkway, which we're saying is the concrete. So we multiply these two together. This is just FOIL, so x squared plus 10x plus 6x plus 60. This 16x is a combination of already adding the 10x and the 6x. That's where we're getting the 16x. And then these two multiply together, so that's going to be, there's a minus sign right there. So it's minus x squared, and then it's going to be a minus 4x. So two minus signs, and then equals 240. Now fortunately, the x squared cancels with the x squared, because one's positive and one's negative. And 16x minus 4x is 12x, and then we have our plus 60, and that equals 240, again, because that's given as the area of the walkway, the concrete. So we subtract 60 from each side, so we get 12x equals 180, and then we divide by 12, so we get x equals 15. If you go back to the picture, you can see that 15 is the width right here of the pool, so that's going to be 15. And then this one is 15 plus 4, so that's where we're going to get the length of 19. So the pool dimension should be 15 by 19. Hopefully that makes sense. That would definitely take some, studying to look over. Okay, so I think that's it. So enjoy. I hope you do well on your test on Monday. Okay, study, study. Have a great weekend though.